Hey everyone, you're watching Ash on Comics. My name is Ash. Oh, no comic. Hey, I wanted to do this video for a couple reasons. It's been kind of bounced around in my head. Now I've kind of lost my point because a bunch of different things have evolved, and going on Twitter and facing all the negativity has sort of sapped my interest to even do anything. Plus I've been sick. So I'm going to get through it. I don't have a script for this. I just wanted to kind of speak off the cuff. So it all started several days ago when Mike S. Miller posted, and I don't really know Mike S. Miller. I know him kind of by reputation in as far as his existence as a pro and in ComicSgate, and he made a comment on Twitter saying that I don't think ComicSgate has a definition, to which I responded, maybe if you took the time to really look. Now, that sort of was the precursor to the events that led up to today. Not that there's a lot of drama, I'm not trying to build up anything. Or drop my phone. I have it precariously balancing, and I bet you didn't expect that to happen. I sure didn't. Surprise! Jump scares, just when you thought you were safe. What's funny is I think that's my breath pushing it over. But, hey, look, you have something to look forward to. When's the phone going to drop? So, I don't know Mike S. Miller, except, like I said, by reputation. And what I do know on his reputation is he doesn't seem to have a very good understanding of ComicSgate. And he has a reputation of a lot of people feeling like he's in it just for the money, not really for ComicSgate. And from what I've seen of his posts, I don't really actively follow him, but I see his posts. It kind of corroborates that reputation. So it's bothered me. It's bothered me that he's sort of come on the scene and tried to be like, I'm the superstar artist, and it's ComicSgate's about me and what me and my boys are doing. It's like, no, dude, you weren't here during the fight. You showed up after Ethan and Zach made it relatively safe for you to come over and do indie comics and make some money. And you know what? I don't fault you for that. I don't fault any of these guys for wanting to make money. I want to make that 100% clear. My problem, and I think a lot of people in ComicSgate, their problem is conflating their agenda. When I say their agenda, I'm speaking of the pros who want to make money, with ComicSgate's agenda. When I say ComicSgate's agenda, my definition is consumers who want to fix the comic book industry and enjoy old school good comics and have professionals be professional to them. There's nothing wrong with either agenda, and I think that's kind of the problem that we're having today, is that there are pros, such as Ethan Van Sciver, and you could consider our boy Zach a pro, John Malin, who have been in the fight. They are legitimate ComicSgate fighters, doing the advocacy, the activism, helping the cause, so to speak. They were there before they were making comics. Now, maybe John Malin, you might argue, he came in because of the Jawbreakers. I don't really necessarily know the whole story. I'm not going to speak for anyone. Excuse me, cough. So, I'm losing train of thought. I'm really sorry. My head is clogged, and I know it's kind of boring to do that, and I did that on Ethan Van Sciver's show, which I'll get to. I don't like this conflation, and I think that's a problem for the cause. Mike, other pros that are coming in to make money, I want them to make money. Go ahead and make money. But don't pretend that you're ComicSgate. Don't try to sell your comics with the ComicSgate moniker. It feels fake. And I'm not saying that they are fake. Their heart may be in it. They may be 100% supported with the ComicSgate idea. but you didn't earn your stripes, so to speak. And more importantly, Comicsgate is a consumer thing. So if you are really just about selling books, stick to that agenda. You can say, I believe in the Comicsgate idea. You can even, I guess you could even say you're Comicsgate. Who am I to tell you that? But I think maybe a disclaimer would be a good thing to say, hey, look, I support Comicsgate. I'm for what it is, but I'm also here to sell books. And so I'm going to try to live up to that. I believe it's important to have that separation, almost like a checks and balances, kind of like our own government. We've got the three branches of government: judicial, legislative, and executive branch. It's important because each of them have a different role, and each of them are sort of overseen by the other. Comics creators should be answerable to the consumers. And it's harder to do that if you bundle in and it's all this sort of like Mickey Mouse Club and everyone's all in this thing together. It's harder to be answerable when you are part of the stars of the community. And that's kind of what I'm seeing with Comicsgate go on right now, is it's sort of dividing in half. And let me fast forward here because I was going to talk about a bunch of things. One of the things I wanted to do in my video was about Indiegogo and crowdfunding, because I saw the conversation sort of turn into being about the books and so forth. And someone had made a comment about how they backed 11 different comics and they haven't seen any yet. To which I responded about, look, these things take time, there's delays, especially when you've never done an Indiegogo or whatever. Like, you think, oh, this is going to be easy, I'll knock this out in a couple months, and you have no understanding of what it's like to wait on printing delays because your printer has got other contracts ahead of you, or there's problems that get, they're unforeseen with someone involved in the book who comes up late with something, or fulfillment processes, or you thought you were going to only sell like 1,000 books, you ended up selling 10,000. Our boy Zach, so now he doesn't even know how he's going to sign Jawbreakers. That's his problem right now. So Jawbreakers, he promised every issue will be signed. 1,000 books, that seems reasonable. He sold 10,000. Now all of a sudden he's trying to figure a way to back out of this. I don't know. He never thought in his wildest dreams he was going to sell 10,000 copies. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that because it's like, look, this is a whole other topic. And that's why now I'm kind of feeling hesitant to even talk about it, because it's divergent of what is now on my chest. But suffice it to say, I guess I'll just leave it with there. If you backed these books, be a little bit patient, right? I know some of them are going to be late. You should expect them to be late. It's going to happen. These guys are all a bunch of newbies when it comes to doing this. Remember, if you were back doing comics in the 90s when Image formed, they had a lot of problem releasing books on time because forming a comic company was not as easy as they all thought. They were superstars at what they did, but there was a lot involved of things that they didn't know how to do. They had to learn on the fly. All right, so fast forward. I got invited to be on the Ethan Van Sciver's ComicArtistPro Secret Show, founder of All Caps, which that's what that stands for, CAPS, Comic Artist Pro Secrets. I think it's a clever name. I like it. I've been a fan of Ethan's for as long as I've really been in Comicsgate. I mean, about a year. And I was quite honored to have him invite me on the show. Well, it went okay. One thing I have to say, if anyone watched the show, when you imagine yourself being on the show talking to Ethan and what the reality of it is, are two different things. Ethan is very charismatic, and he has a strong radio voice and presence. And he's been doing his show for a while. He's got all the kinks worked out. He knows how to use up airtime just right, and he knows how to turn the subject for his audience. He's really good at this. I have done a couple of live streams or whatever here and there, and with just a bunch of people who are more like myself, and it's just been a casual thing. And Ethan, when you're under that sort of control, it's probably a little bit like kind of how Zach felt when he went and did that Comedy Channel show. Now, the difference is, of course, I'm not trying to allude that Ethan was setting me up like the way Zach was or anything, but it's all like under their control, and you just sort of are along for the ride. And it makes it difficult when you have your points. Now, when Ethan invited me on, he's like, I just want to have a conversation, not a debate about this, and you seem to have a credible view, and I guess he believed in my earnest honesty. I've talked to Ethan, here and there for many months. He's a big popular person, so I'm probably low on his radar, but he knows about me, and he's had a chance to see that I'm not just some nobody out of nowhere, like, yesterday. So I guess he felt good enough to have me on the show, and, and if I was full of shit, I'm sure he would have just torn me apart. So we go off and we're having the conversation, and the whole thing of really that the conversation was kind of about was ComicSgate and what to do with it. Is ComicSgate still needed? Now, I believe ComicSgate is divided into two groups at its heart. I mean, there's lots of like little splinters and these little micro groups that you might consider, but I just think that's nothing. I think that's a bunch of people just being political and personal, and that's just nonsense. Whatever. It's not ComicSgate. I don't know what you're doing. You have the original group of ComicSgaters, that were from the old school, Doug Ernst, Captain Cummings crowd, Captain Frugal. You have those guys, right, that were around, and then Zach, our boy, Richard C. Meyer, Diversity in Comics, came in and sort of lit a match to this fire, this buildup of gas that these other guys were doing, and just brought something, I guess, that they were missing, and made what he was able to do was sort of bring this everyman feel that allowed everyone to relate to the comics. And he was so passionate, not just about his disgust of ComicSgate, but at least speaking for myself, his passion for the love of comics that were still there and the good that still existed is what made me really gravitate towards him. And I think it's reasonable to suggest that was a big impact. Suffice it to say, Zach's input cannot be discounted. Whatever the reasons are, we can debate on that, but that's not the point. Zach really put an invigoration into that movement, and just kept pushing it forward, and it was great to see. And then Ethan eventually followed suit, and he brought not just his charisma and everything, but he also brought his notoriety as a comic book legend. This is one of the top dogs in the industry, and not just his talent as an artist, but also his inside knowledge of comics and how they work, his relation with comics pros, and so forth. So, I believe, I get so off track, and I'm sorry, I'm a long-winded person. I don't maintain that stream of thought that is so awesome to be like a radio person, like the way Ethan does. So I think you have that one group, and then I think you have a new group that started after the success of Jawbreakers and Cyberfrog. What happened with that success is a bunch of creators started coming over. They saw that success could be had. And I don't fault them, right? I have to make it clear, like, I understand, and I told this to Ethan on a show, I know a lot of these guys are having to watch what they do and say, and they're sort of bullied over there, and they don't have much room to do anything. Their jobs are on the line. So I get it. They just want to put food on their table. But Ethan gave them a show to be like, look, you can make money over here. Don't fear those guys anymore. Come to our side. And that's great. I'm 100% for that. The problem is, I make it sound like that's a big problem. It's not a big problem, but the challenge on this is you get these people coming over and they're in it for the money. They're coming over because, oh man, our friend Ethan is over here and he's making money. He's showing we don't have to stand up to, we don't have to, buy these SJWs anymore. Fantastic. And that is related to what ComicSgate is about. But that's a different kind of ComicSgate. I guess that's like the pro version of ComicSgate. So, there's nothing necessarily wrong with that, but it's not what consumers are asking for. We consumers are asking for comics to be the way they were before the SJWs took over. We don't want proselytizing or preaching of politics through characters that we know and love. And when I say this, I mean, don't turn Captain America into a Nazi. Don't make Spider-Man gay if he's not gay. You want to do these things. If you want more women representation in comics, if you want more LGBTQ plus representation in comics, okay, make new characters, right? You'll probably notice if you've been watching me for a while, I'll be really hard on things like female Thor and Riri Williams and Nazi Captain America, God forbid, Jesus. But I don't really ever talk about things like Kamala Khan. Well, Kamala Khan is hardcore SJW, right? She is a new creation. It's like, I don't like it, but she didn't hijack a character and turn it into something else. I guess you could argue that she took the Miss Marvel name, and now Miss Marvel is a totally different. Yeah, so it is kind of related. But I have less of a problem with that, because I just think the free market will decide. If you make a stupid character, it's going to not sell and it's going to get canceled. And the good characters that we like will continue on. Anyways, there's another tangent. So I believe at this point that there's the new ComicSgate, which is Ethan Van Sciver, what I would often to jokingly refer to as Ethan Van Sciver and Friends. Because I do believe he is a leader of sorts. And I said this on his show as well, that he's a leader, but it's easy to conflate this because there's a leader who is like Trump, where we elected and we put him into office and he's anointed. Like, that's an official leader. Then there's leaders who just are leaders by sake of being people who have people that follow them. And Ethan is a natural leader. Zach is a natural leader in his way. People want to listen to what they have to say. No one put them in charge of anything, but that they're leading. So in that sense, the latter sense, Ethan is a leader. And he's a big one. He might be the biggest in all of ComicSgate. And he's also a creator. So he's directing. He's not just having his own agenda. His influence is directing the thoughts of a good many people, maybe a majority of ComicSgate, into his way of thinking. Which isn't necessarily wrong. But I think it's important to be honest and say, hey, this isn't original ComicSgate. This is something new. And I tried to make a point on his show that I think ComicSgate it's not that people need to come and go or leave ComicSkate or anything. I don't think that. I think it's just important to be clear on what you stand for. And it's difficult when you're on his show and you have a minute to speak or whatever, and he's talking about all these different things, and all of a sudden he'll cut off at a certain time to give you that moment that okay, now it's your time to talk. And you wanted to say a bunch of things, but all of a sudden he talked about something else, and then you're just like, wait a second, how am I address that? And then you realize you don't have much time to talk. You realize he has an audience that is really all on his side, is looking at you like going, who the F are you? And you just crumble. I don't think I crumbled, but I definitely wasn't on my A game there, and I wasn't expecting that. So whatever, that's my bad. He asked me in the middle of the night, do you want to come on? And I was like, okay, sure, let's go. And it was just that. There was no pre-planning. We talked for about 2 minutes before we went live, and was go. So I didn't present myself well, and that's my bad. And I may not even be right. These are just my ideas. What I think is important, what I congratulate Ethan on, is the willingness to think about ideas, to hear other people's ideas. Because you can't live in an area of righteousness. You can't walk around and go, my idea is the best idea, if you refused to hear anyone else's ideas. The great people, the ones that make the best decisions, are the ones that listen to all the other options, hear it all, and then go, okay, I heard all these different things, now I'm more clearly able to see this particular way is the best way forward. So I have to admire Ethan in that aspect, that he doesn't want to move forward blindly. He may not agree with me, and I may not agree with him, but when he left that conversation, when he's going on with today, he heard what I had to say, and either that's going to have some effect on his point of view, or it's going to reaffirm his point of view. Either way, it's affecting his point of view. And that's all I can really ask for. I think the guy is going to go ahead with All Caps Comics, regardless of anything I have to say, but I'm all for it. I think his involvement in ComicSkate is going to be whatever he wants it to be, regardless of what I have to say. And I told him on air, I was like, I don't ever want you to leave ComicSkate. I think it's just important that we communicate so that people understand that there's, maybe two different parts of ComicSkate now, where there used to just be the consumer movement. Maybe it's important to delineate a second aspect that not everyone's involved with, and to understand that, because what ComicSkate does, and you say, well, Ash, why does this all even matter? Because when you say the term ComicSkate, all you're really doing is you're summing up your agenda into a word, so that you don't have to constantly explain your agenda. You can just say, I'm ComicSkate. Oh, you're ComicSkate? I know that you're for this, against this, blah, blah, blah. Boom. Well, when we start changing those definitions, and now you say you're ComicSkate, it causes now confusion again. Well, wait a second. Are you just for the consumer side, or are you also supporting all these Indiegogo things? So my point is, and this, if you're listening still, I appreciate it, that ComicSkate doesn't have to just be all one encompassing thing. People can support many different things, right? So for me personally, I'm a conservative. I'm a Christian. I am ComicSkate. I'm an animal lover. Those things are mutually exclusive, but I can also support all four of them. Maybe you listening aren't a Christian, but you love animals, you're a conservative, and you're a ComicSkate. We're going to relate. And when you say I'm ComicSkate, I don't automatically mean, it means you're an animal lover because I love animals and I'm ComicSkate. You see what I'm saying? So the danger, I guess, that we run into is making ComicSkate mean more than it does. And then it starts misrepresenting people, because I don't, how do I say this? I don't fully support the Indiegogo campaign from a ComicSkate perspective. I support the Indiegogos because I'm a lover of comics, and I like comic book creators, and I like to see them succeed, and I like them to make products that I can be a fan of. So I want that. Cyberfrog looks awesome, right? I want it to be as awesome as possible. But my desire for that, my agenda, is separate from Comicsgate. It's related, and they can go hand in hand, but someone else doesn't have to support that. Someone else can be completely against it and be like, all I want is Marvel to be good again. And they can still be Comicsgate. Because Comicsgate is what it is. Everything else that's tacked on is something else. And I think that's what I was trying to communicate to Ethan. And you may not even fully agree with that either. But I think it needs to be. I think Ethan needs to be Comicsgate and something else. You see what I'm saying? And maybe that's what I missed when I was trying to communicate to him last night on the live stream, is you don't have to separate yourself. You can be maybe both things. Like I was saying before, where I'm Comicsgate and I'm a conservative. Well, you can be Comicsgate and a liberal, right? And we can still support, one thing together and disagree on something different. Ethan can be Comicsgate and he can be a pro, and he's supporting All Caps Comics. I don't necessarily have to be All Caps Comics pro, or supportive. But I am, because why not? I mean, I'm a comics fan. I hope that makes some sense. I'm not the most eloquent person, I know this. I'm thankful that I had a chance to even bring up anything on EVS's show. I did get a few supportive feedback comments, and I appreciate anyone who said anything kind. That, I'm worried that I was like a complete bore and just sound like an idiot on the show. That's kind of my biggest fear. And a couple people were like, no, yeah, you had something good to say, and I really liked what you had to say. So that means a lot, especially coming from most people watching that show are EVS fans. So if you're one of those people, thanks a lot. If you're not, that's okay. I just have my ideas. I'm not some god of comics that knows everything. I just have my opinions. And I try to listen to everyone as much as I can so I can make the most informed decisions. And sometimes people prove me wrong, and I learn something new, and I walk away. Most all of my views are based on fellow comic skaters like you that had something to say, and I just built on that. So thanks for watching. I hope that long-winded ramble wasn't more just nonsense of last night. I hope that added something. At the very least, now you can comment in my comments, questions. If I don't understand this, Ash, what the hell are you talking about? I now can specifically answer those questions. My problem right now is people are like, you didn't make a whole lot of sense. Okay, that's a broad question. It's much easier to answer concise, close-ended questions. But I'll do my best to answer anything that you guys still don't understand, or if you have a different idea, maybe you could sway me to it. Like I said, I don't think I'm the answer. And when I went on to Ethan's show, the whole thing I told him at the beginning was like, look, I don't have the answers. I have some opinions. These are some of the things I think. And he's like, great. It's like, I don't want to debate. I just want a conversation. And I was like, let's do it. We'll conversate. It turned a little bit into a debate. And I think that's because that's what Ethan's used to at this point, because he gets a lot of that. But it was what it was. I enjoyed it. Ethan, you probably didn't watch this video, but on the off chance that you did, I owe it to you to say thanks. You were a very gracious host. I would happy to be on your show anytime. I love what you do. Keep doing it. Don't take any of my criticisms as ever not being on your side. We're all just people. We all have different opinions, and you're doing a great job. Thanks to everyone else for watching, and hope you come again. Bye.